Okay. G'day, how you going? This is Stevo Djanda here. I just thought I'd do my first video sitting on my beast, the KTM 1290 Super Adventure R that I just rode to Cape York, the tip, twice in 2024 from Mandurah, Western Australia. So I rode through the centre, through Uluru, and then up through Litchfield, up through to Darwin. Spent a couple of weeks in Darwin. My wife flew in and caught up with me, and then from there I decided to do a spontaneous ride through to Kakadu and spent a couple of days getting all this awesome Indigenous artwork done on the bike by a couple of local Indigenous guys from OUTBACK, which was phenomenal because they run the cultural boat tour, and I was sitting down there by the river, and I rocked up and said good day to them and asked them if they'd be interested in doing some artwork on my bike, and they were both very, very proud to be able to share their stories and their culture with their amazing artwork on my bike. So that was a special moment. From Kakadu, I travelled down through, I did a big loop. I sort of went up one way through the Jabiru and Kakadu, and then I come through the opposite way, down through to Pine Creek. I think you end up coming out, and stayed at Daly Waters pub for a couple of nights because my ears were swollen from getting eaten alive, and I was feeling a bit nauseous. I had a couple of people that knew me from Facebook, so I felt like a bit of a rock star there. That was awesome. Great setting, owner's really cool, and there's buffaloes and donkeys and all sorts of animals that walk around. They've got a pet crocodile in one of the pens that they feed. So from there I hit the Savannah Way and drowned this bike about 230 k's from Hells Gates Roadhouse. Did a misjudgment on a crossing. Could have hopped off easily and walked the bike across, but instead I chose to ride it across. I was feeling confident. I'd already done a few crossings by then, and hopped off the bike and had a really good look at this river because it was a fairly decent sized one, and there's some flowing water there as well. Nothing too radical. I've done far deeper and longer ones than it, but yeah, I just took the wrong side, stayed on the bike because I didn't want to get my boots wet. And dropped her. So yeah, I was stranded on the side of this track for 27 hours. I had a few people stop and give me coffee and muesli bars and water and have a chat with me, and a couple of guys from Perth were riding through the opposite way just after it happened, and one of them on his BMW come around the corner, and there's a caravan, the full drive part there, and he had a blown Vauxhall, so I think that caused the reason why he ran off the track and went into a ditch. So all attention went from me drowning my bike to this guy that was lying in a ditch, and he didn't hurt himself, which was great, and his bike had minimal damage, just a couple of bent brake lever and this, that and the other. So we got him out, and then him and his mate, he was a mechanic from Mandurah of all places. He looked at my bike and sort of said, plugs will have to come out and you'll have to pump it out. Hopefully that's all it is. And he didn't have the right tools, but he sort of did offer his $2 bobs worth, and spent a good half hour to an hour. I pulled the air filter out and whatnot, and so I just didn't have the tools to do it. So I just thought, I'm not even going to attempt to do it, and I was just going to get the bike picked up and taken to a station until I worked out what I was going to do. So anyway, next morning some young blokes rocked up, and after I had a Friday night with a water buffalo snorting at my tent, how can I forget that? That was crazy. Camping up the top of this hill because some Indigenous family drives across this river crossing in the evening just before I'm about to set up my tent, and says, watch out, there's a big water python in the area the size of an anaconda that he's seen it, the length of the track, and the track was friggin' wide, and he said, it'll swallow you whole, so I took his word for it because none of them were laughing as they were telling me, oh, I had a serious look on their face. I said, okay, thanks, mate. So I camped up the top of this hill, and yeah, I was like, don't even know what time it was, but it was dark, and you know, when you're out in the outback, remote on your own, it's sort of like peaceful. Could just hear the water in the background up the top of the hill from the river. But yeah, this buffalo started making these wild beast noises, and it was coming towards me up this track. I could hear it. I'm like, fucking hell. I talked to a couple of guys that I've met through my travels, like Waco and a few other people, about water buffaloes and how they're pretty fucking wild beasts, you know, like they're not like the ones you see in Bali or Thailand when they're pets. The ones in Australia are fucking wild, so they will ragdoll you, you know, like no mercy, you know. So I was lying in my tent, didn't want to flick my light on my phone or anything, and I was just lying there with my hands on my chest, just like trying to show it, you know, just trying to breathe quietly, because this thing approached my tent and I could hear it breathing by my tent, so my heart was pounding. I had visions of it fucking ragdolling me and tossing me into the bushes. I couldn't get out of the tent quick enough if I tried to. That would have created it to be frightening, and then possibly it, you know, did something and spooked. It's almost as if it came down the track, saw my KTM part there, because I was sort of off on the side track. It's like the track that they take to go down the water. So this happened about 3 times that I remember throughout the night, maybe more. And in the morning I stuck my head out of the tent, and there was no buffalo there right there. Fucking ragdoll me, and sort of had a few coffees, and woke up and sort of laughed about the moment that I had with this water buffalo. And then around about 9 o'clock, I think it was, this young guy rocks up and says, "How you going?" I said, "Oh, I'm going to drown the bike, mate, and yeah, but we're going to have to take it back to Darwin and get it sorted out." He goes, all right. He looks at me, looks at the bike, and says, "I'll get you going." So that was a moment of like kind of relief that someone had the tools and the knowledge to know how to get me going. Like this guy had a KTM himself, like an enduro bike, so he was confident, you know. The bikes I've driven over the years have had carbies, or they've been smaller, you know, single cylinder, so they're pretty easy compared to those big adventure bikes, and the shit you got to take off them just to get to the fucking spark plugs is not the sort of tools I bring. So he was there, and his mates rocked up, and his wife, and they just went to town. I was tired because I had a sleepless night from this water buffalo, and I just sort of helped where I could, pass some tools and taking off bits that they weren't sure about, and I sort of knew how to, you know, take the parts off from the tank and the other bits that I've put on myself, like the radiator protectors and that sort of stuff, to get to the front cylinder. And they pulled out managed to get one spark plug out after, you know, many attempts. He didn't have the right socket, so he was grinding it down and putting a bolt in there to try to get it to grip. All very, he was a tradesman, he was a sparky, and the other guy was a builder or something, but they were skilled hands-on tools guys, so it was absolutely brilliant. And one of the guys' wives was holding an umbrella. It was like a pit stop, you know, like they just didn't stop until they could get to these plugs. They got one out, and then we still couldn't move the wheel. It was just hydraulic lock, we called it. The other guy called it, from manager, that was mechanic. And so we had to pull out the other plug, and then we had it tipped up on the back of the ute, and basically all this water coming out the exhaust. The thing was just full, you know, because I dropped it from the exhaust side, and this river was flowing, and the water just pumped in there, you know, and I just there, and then like, fuck, you know, the thing wouldn't even start because obviously it just locks it. So once we got both the plugs out, all of a sudden we were able to start to move it, rocked it back and forth, and eventually we were able to turn the wheel over and pushed it up this track, all this water pumping out the cylinders, and then pushed it back. From there, they sprayed some fuel in the spark plugs and in the, you know, the portholes, and I sprayed some WD-40 in there first, and that, you know, gets rid of the water. I squirted a bit of fuel in there, put the plugs back in, and by then the battery was flat because obviously trying to start it, you know, initially a few times, well, maybe, who knows, maybe for some reason it just didn't have enough crank to crank it over. Maybe there was still a little bit of resistance there, but yeah, they had the jumper leads and all that sort of stuff, and put that on, and bang, she started. I was like, fuck, couldn't believe it. I was like, well, I could believe it, but I was kind of surprised. So I was like, I think not being negative, but I thought, oh, I haven't done more than, you know, just that. So that was the moment that I thought, far out, you know, the true Aussie spirit is well and truly alive in Australia. These remote places, you know, I had help that, you know, I'm not used to having that sort of help. I've always been independent. I don't really rely on anyone. So it was an amazing experience that I'll, you know, truly cherish for the rest of my life. And hence the reason I've now got the buffalo, or the bull. These are bullhorns. These are silver brown bullhorns mounted on the bike in memory of that water buffalo fucking snorting at me. And yeah, from there the bike start. I got it all packed up again with my gear and put all my riding gear on, and off I went. And she never fucking missed a beat. You know, I just cruised along cautiously to start with, and then I was just back into my normal rhythm on this Savannah Way, and made Hell's Gates, and I was like relieved, and got a warm welcome there from a few people that had known what had happened, because they talk, you know, people that are travelling through. And another mechanic came through that had the right socket. He was at Hell's Gates, so I was able to shout him a couple of beers. The people that helped me wouldn't take anything, no cash, no nothing. They just said, "No, one day we'll need help." So I just gave the kids a sticker each and thanked them. Couldn't thank them enough. Did a post about it, and yeah, it's truly was a moment of adventure. So yeah, so from Hell's Gates, after I think I stayed there 2 nights to, you know, regain my sleep and have a couple of good meals and a few beers and check over the bike. And yeah, the guy that was a mechanic, he was also from friggin' Mandurah. Small world, you know. You can be in the most remote place in outback Australia, and yeah, 2 people from Mandurah, both mechanics of all things. So it was another bizarre thing. He gave me a sort of this additive that you put in the fuel to stop, you know, any water that, you know, or to however it works, evaporate the water that might be in the tank. So he gave me a bit of that to put in there. He puts it in all the time because his typical mechanic doesn't like to take a risk with, you know, the outback fuel. But I've never bothered with any of my bikes. Even Daryl Beatty told me years ago like that he carried it some with him. Obviously he's had problems with his bikes, with his tours that he used to run, but anyway, from there, yeah, checked the bike, the filter, everything was good. Yeah, filter remained, I put a clean filter in there, I think. And cruised through to Karumba, out back by the sea, and stayed there a few nights as well, caught up with my washing and watched the sunset. You got beautiful seafood, you know, beautiful big prawns, and just, you know, fresh seafood from that Gulf of Carpentaria. And yeah, there's a beautiful pub that overlooks the water, and the sunsets are just amongst the best in Australia. Like most sunsets are awesome on the ocean. And yeah, once I'd done all my washing and had a few, you know, nights there, just resting and relaxing, I rode through to Cairns. The development road was shut at the time. It was under maintenance, even though I talked to a lady at one of the small towns in between, saying her husband said that he was on the shy and that I could ride it if I wanted to, because it was fine, because her husband said it's fine for me to ride. But the thing is, if something happens to me when I'm riding on that road, I wouldn't think like that years ago, but these days, you know, for the purpose of not taking unnecessary risks when a road is officially closed, if I did have to be rescued for some reason, I could be liable for those costs, and that's all it is. It's nothing to do with the fact that I couldn't do it because they're not capable of riding it. It's more or less the related costs of not following, you know, a road closure. So I took the normal roads back through the Cairns. I think I spent a few days there, put a new rear tyre on, which I was due for by then. Went up to the Kurunda Rainforest Markets. I think I stayed central Cairns actually. Gave the bike a really thorough detail, not thorough, but I gave it a good clean at the pressure clean, because I do that whenever I get the opportunity. I think it's a good way of keeping the bike maintained. And then, yeah, I was ready to go up to Cape York. The Bloomfield track had been flooded and damaged the year before, late in the year, and that was part of the reason I was heading up to Cape York, was to support these businesses that were struggling. Like literally they'd been closed for months because the roads had been washed out on the Bloomfield track and other parts, and it was just opening, you know, and I thought, wow, how's that for friggin' timing, you know. So I set off and you know, took the new rear tyre, front tyre still had heaps of meat on it, and I headed up towards the lion's den that was underwater. It's the news report that I saw on TV, and I thought, wow, look at that, it was right up. A couple of the sea containers or dongers that I stayed in years ago had been washed, not there anymore, they were just washed away, and there's a guy standing waist high at a gate, you know, casual as Larry Aussie bloke saying, oh yeah, the dongers are washed away, and it was bizarre. But to go back there and see the place open and that had just reopened, and could still actually see from when I was up there in 22, because in 22 I rode through the centre up to I did actually go up there in 22, I rode up to Lionsden, that's right, and I turned around and came back and went to Phillip Island. So my name was still there from 2022, Australia 22 Outback Adventure Ride, and they didn't get washed away because I did that in Texto. And this time, because I'd reopened, I put a few stickers throughout the pub in prime locations, because a fair bit of the stuff had been deleted from the floods throughout the pub. So there was some opportunities to stick some fresh stickers in there, got a couple of good photos, stayed there for a couple of nights in the safari cabin out the back, because the dongs weren't there anymore, and I had that to myself. That sleeps about 10 people, but it's cheap as chips, and the water's just down the back there where you can swim in the river, which is beautiful. A little bit of rain overnight, but that was fine. That sort of dampened the tracks, and yeah, off I headed up towards Cooktown. I think I spent a night there as well, from memory, and then cruised up towards Cape York. So that was awesome. I rocked up at Bramwell station and saw a guy that I met when we first travelled to give up to Cape York 17 years ago, and he invited us along to become a support vehicle because they were doing a charity ride with for SIDS with a heap of motorbikes, and we pulled up at this river crossing, and I was filming all these guys on motorbikes crossing this river. I thought, wow, this looks awesome. I was like, just loving it, you know. I just pictured myself doing the same thing one day, and they saw the excitement and the fact that I was filming and we had a decent vehicle, and they said, would you like to, you know, join in with us and you could become a support vehicle? So little did I know that they'd be sending me down the old telegraph line, and you know, it's one of the gnarliest tracks in Australia as far as four-wheel driving goes. So you know, did all the crazy river crossings and shotgun, and it was a fucking adrenaline rush of a lifetime with my wife and daughter in the car. You know, I'm dropping into shotgun, and I'm like fucking shitting myself because it just dropped straight down, and you got, you know, about 50 people at least watching. You know, like on the other side, you know, whether they're other people from vehicles. It was like a couple of busloads of people. I think some people come from that way just to watch the action of people dropping through into shotgun, and I shit myself. I said, and because it all happens really quickly, we were just following this group of motorcycle riders. Like they'd already arrived there, and then they guided me through. You know, this guy comes and says, "You'll be right, you'll be right." So I didn't really have a lot of time to procrastinate about, and I just went far out. And my daughter, I remember putting her hand on my shoulder and saying, "It's all right, Dad, you can do it." My heart just melted, you know, like she's all of about 5 years old. And I'll never forget that moment. So yeah, we drove down into shotgun, across the river, had a big cheer from all the people, and off we went and camped at Bramwell Station, where the guy that was running it now runs that station. He's ended up in Cape York, and it was good to catch up with him again and share those memories, you know. So I can't remember his name, unfortunately. I've had a bit of a brain freeze. But anyway, it was really good to catch up with him, and from there I travelled through to a couple of other places on the way through. I didn't do the old telegraph line because I was on this big bike and I bumped into Moto Australia at another roadhouse stop where they're building the new bridge up there, Archer River. Remember that one? And yeah, met the owner there and Charlie and the chef, the French master chef. And yeah, I spent the night there talking to them and having a few. He pulls out the tequila and, hey Stevo, you want a shot? So it was the sort of guys that I like hanging out with. A bit wild, a bit crazy, but they're just living. And yeah, I had a few shots of tequila with them and a few beers. I got my beers from the pub because they sell cold beers there. And yeah, he said the bike's probably a bit big for the telegraph line, which I know it is. I could do it if I really wanted to, but you know, some of those crossings they're going to carry the bikes across because they're that deep or technical. And you know, you've got to remember the bikes that are doing those tours are, you know, usually single cylinders, like, you know, anything from 350s to 500s or even less, you know, 250s. And they're not fully loaded, you know. They've got a sport truck with all the gear, and they're pretty much just riding with the motocross, you know, or enduro gear on. So that wasn't an issue because I'd done that 7-8 years ago, and it was a memory of a lifetime. So I was more or less wanting to reach the tip by still having fun, but not taking unnecessary. You know, like there's places that you can ride a big bike, and there's places that you just go, why would you even bother? Because this is over 200 kilos, and with all the gear on it, it's probably close to 250 kilos at least. So, which isn't a problem for me riding it. I love it. It's easy to ride with my skill set, and I know a lot of the tracks are challenging still with the sandiness and corrugation, especially the central road that goes up there. And it's actually the side tracks that are the ones that are really interesting. They get more roller coastery, and there's lots of river crossings and that sort of thing. But there's a couple of roads that I took in there, like that were just totally awesome. And one of them, I'm pretty sure we took on the way up there when we did this. Before we might have met the guy that was on the SIDS fundraiser years ago on like the Battlefield track. I'm pretty sure we took that because that goes through mountain ranges and then goes up through to Musgrave Roadhouse is the other one. So yeah, anyway, I feel, you know, sort of went on my way up to Cape York. I stopped in at the falls, a couple of the beautiful waterfalls on the way up there, which are just stunning. You know, beautiful locations. Got to one of them really early, so there was only a couple of people there. They can get really packed out these days. Like every man and a dog goes to Cape York these days. It's just got all the people from the East Coast and different parts of the world, and I mean, you've got WA and whatever other state. It's an iconic location. It's an adventure trip of a lifetime. So when I'm riding, I tend to try and avoid those crowds whenever possible, and you know, usually it's just about getting to place a little bit earlier, or they're just taking tracks that most people don't take. And if I do, you know, there might have been a lot of people on the central road, but once you get off the side tracks, it's, you know, there's times when you might only see one car in 2 hours, which is really good. So the difference is years ago you wouldn't see any all day. Same with the Gibb River Road. We, you know, did that a few times over the years and never saw anyone. I said, now you do it, and it's like a freeway. So times have changed. There's still great places to visit, but anyway, I made it to Bagama, and instead of staying at the place that I stayed at when we went up as a family, I decided to stay at Loyalty Beach because that seemed to be a spot that a lot of the adventure riders that do the tour groups. There's about fucking 12 tour groups that I counted. You know, there's probably another 10 that I didn't count. Main ones that do adventure riding tours up to Cape York. So I thought I'd stay there. Bumped into Moto Odyssey again, and you know, the chef Nico, just remembered his name. Nico said, "Stevo, buddy, you know, come over and have some, you know, beers with us tonight," and that. So yeah, I was very, very welcomed by them. More so than what I have been in WA with any groups, because you know, it sort of blows your mind that you can live in WA all your life, but you just, for some reason, there's something about WA that's I don't know. It's sort of like the groups are sort of like very selective, and it's a lot of little groupies. You know, I used to do a few group rides for road bikes. Now I think I've done one group ride with a local group in WA, and then after that, you know, like I don't think anyone's ever said boo to me. You know, I had one guy from the ride that contacted me because he wanted me to set up his suspension when he knew that I'd raced for many years, and then recently when I got back from Cape York, I said, "Hey, you want to go for a ride?" He's like, "Nah, I'm working." You know, he follows me, but he's not interested, and I just that's why I ride solo. But over East, it was nice to get a warm welcome from Moto and the other. I know these tour groups are probably like being nice because they want your business, but at the end of the day, they don't have to be like that because they've already got the customers there, and I'm riding solo. But I thought it was really, really nice. I did hang out with them a couple of days. Nico took me fishing. He asked me if I wanted to go fishing. I said, hell yeah. So I spent 2 days fishing with Nico off the Ciesa Wharf before I even reached the tip. And yeah, so yeah, caught a heap of fish as well. You know, like he was getting some live bait, and I've been fishing for years. You know, I've had a few boats here in Mandurah, and I love my fishing. And I think he underestimated that I'm not that bad a fisher because I, you know, reeled in a shark and a couple of good trevally or whatever else they were, queenies, and yeah, there was, you know, 10 dozen fish. And anyway, they were expecting me to have dinner or whatever, and I wasn't around the next day. And where were you, Steve? Well, you didn't have any fish. I said, no, I'm going to the tip. That's what I come here for. So I soldiered on to the tip and got the photos and relived the memory with my wife and daughter that we did 17 years prior. And it was a very emotional moment because daughter's no longer with me, and but I still got to, you know, live out my dream, which is what my daughter would have wanted me to do. You know, she had a message that she brought home from school years ago, and when she was in kindy or preschool or I don't even know which one it was, that said, had a crown that said, "Live your dream, Steve, just like a king." So that's exactly what I've been doing since she's been gone. I've been, you know, involved with solo adventure riding throughout Outback Australia, picking off, you know, places like the Kimberley, Arnhem Land, Cape York, you know, through, you know, beautiful scenic ride through the Blue Mountains, and, you know, Gardens of Stone, of, you know, different Lithgow, and then Alpine Ranges and the Berry Way, and down through the Phillip Island to watch MotoGP, and you know, back through across to Perth, WA on the Nullarbor. And obviously there's still a shitload to see in Australia, but I've spent most of my life exploring Australia, so now it's time to start travelling the world. And my backyard's still outback. It's not outback, it's southwest of Australia, but I've still got plenty of bush in WA that I love riding. But as far as, you know, new experiences, that's where I'm heading back to Thailand later this year to start my round the world. And my round the world trip's not going to be all done in one hit. Like most people think, you've got to do it in one hit, you know, in 3 months or 4 months. It's crazy. I'll be taking my time, so I was planning on going back, spending a few months in Thailand, exploring from south to north. When I go back, I'll choose between, you know, Vietnam or Laos or Cambodia or whatever, you know, I feel, or even other parts of Indonesia could be attractive to me that I want to explore. Generally, I like to go to places, you know, the roads less travelled is kind of a line that I've put in my Facebook pages, because I like to go where not all the tour guides and that go. Now it's pretty hard these days because everything's been explored and every rock's been turned over and looked under. But I'm confident that, you know, when you start talking to locals and that, like I did in the Outback Australia, there's still some places that I don't even share on my post because you don't want every man and dog going there, you know. So the fact is that there are some places, you know, there was even a tribe in the middle of Australia that was only, you know, discovered X amount of years ago that no one knew about. So, you know, Australia's been absolutely awesome, and I've had a great time exploring it. after I got back from Cape York, my wife rang and said that she was going to delay her flight for a couple of weeks for whatever reasons. I can't remember what it was. And I said that. She goes, "Do you mind staying there for a couple more weeks?" I said, "Hell no." And after catching up with the guys from Moto, because they have a few drinks with their guys that they take on their tour down at the tradies bar, I caught up with them and they said, "Oh, is your wife dropping over soon?" I said, "No, she's just cancelled for 2 weeks." I said, "Oh, what are you going to do?" I said, "I'm heading back up to Cape York. I'm going to do it again." But that time, the second time, I learnt more tracks from the different tour groups that I'd bumped into, and I was able to do a lot more scenic route, even though the tour groups do it. Not all the travellers do it, so they were really unique. And the big bike handled it, no worries, and I made sure that I was fully knowledgeable about. There's a couple of crossings that tested me, and I had to walk the bike over because they were deep and rocky and on my own. So, you know, you drop this fucking big bitch in a deep crossing, that's crocodiles, warning signs everywhere. It's kind of, yeah, you got to act quickly. So the second ride was even better. The weather was better. The first ride had 5 seasons in a day, even though, you know, whatever that means, whether it's windy, rain, sun, hot, cold, cool, was like everything thrown at you. The second one was like more, you know, mild all the way through, a little bit of warmth, but nothing too hot. And then when I got up to Loyalty Beach, it was like something out of a screensaver page of a computer. It was magic. It was glassy, you could see the islands clearly. I was like, what a difference. And it was beautiful the first time, but the second time was absolutely magic. So I spent a whole week up there in this little shack called Mix Shack. I think the first time I stayed up there is Nick's Shack, and then next to it is Mix Shack. And they're the guys that built those 2 shacks, Nick and Mick, a couple of carpenters. And yeah, they're cheap as anything. I gave a 5-star review. I love giving reviews of businesses that I've had a good experience with. I'm not really into bagging businesses. I don't think it's necessary, but I've just not leaving a review if you're not happy. But if it's a good business, like Loyalty Beach was awesome experience. I left a 5-star review. So when I came back the second time, they gave me a great discount. Not that I was asking for that from the review, but you know, I got a nice discount and stayed there for a full week. And yeah, managed to go to the Croc Tent up there and the other place that we stayed at the first time, and spent a bit more time at the tip and taking photos of people, just offering, you know, would you like me to take a photo? I took photos of other people as well. There's one guy I rocked up with this other bloke, and I went to take a photo of him, and he's just spat it. It was the first time it happened in all of Australia. He goes, "Fuck off, you know, don't want to take a photo, mate." I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, mate." I said, "I was just on a trip of a lifetime. I like to take a few photos of other riders." And he goes, "I don't want you to take my fucking photo." I was like, I think he had a bit too much of a ride and was a bit fatigued. But anyway, I said, "No, I apologise. You have a good day," and walked off. And I thought, well, glad that doesn't happen too often. And other than that, you know, there's a bunch of tourists on the bus that just loved me. Thought I was like fucking a legend, riding from Mandurah through the centre and sharing my adventures with them. And they asked if I could be in the photo with them. They having a group photo, and they say, "Hey, Stevo, do you want to come and have a photo with us?" Because I took photos of half of them up at the tip. They invited me to be in their photo, and then they sent me this photo of them. You know, how they found me, obviously off my Facebook page or something, I don't know, because they'd stick it on the sign there. But you know, it's sort of interesting, the different situations that you get. And I guess not everyone's going to be full of energy and happy when they reach these destinations. Some of them are pushing their limits. You know, I had another moment when I was coming back from Cape York, and I was on the Great Central Road, and there's a couple of guys that I met in Bojangles and Alice Springs, and I introduced myself and chatted to them, and I was, you know, feeling pretty good that I'd reached the tip, and I, you know, shared my story and how I've been healing and that through the loss of my daughter, and this has been good for me. And then you know, when I met him at Warrakuna, and I got interviewed by ABC, not one of them had a word to say to me. Though. It's like, as I took off, one of the guys just had his head down, and I bumped into him just the other week in Fremantle. I pulled up, and this guy walks past and started chatting to me, and I said, "Oh, sorry mate, I can't remember." I was like, "What are you riding?" I'd been I was like, "Oh, nah." And then all of a sudden I said, "Oh, at Warrakuna where I got interviewed by ABC," and I said, as I took off, "You just had your head down." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, my mate passed away, so you know, I was watching his funeral." I thought, okay. But anyway, he talked to me at Fremantle. I didn't get upset about it at the time. I thought, oh, maybe he's having a tough day like that guy up at Cape York, you know. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm a the best rider, but I think a lot of people aren't conditioned for those sorts of big rides. And there's another guy up there. He had his wife supporting him, and he was riding a DRZ 400, and he stacked it and twisted all the bars and that. And I said, no, I offered to help straighten his forks and all that. And he goes, no, don't worry about it. He goes, I'll do it when I get back from the tip. I said, no, you want to do it before you go to the tip, because you might, between here and the tip, there's puddles and roots and all sorts of shit. And, if you've got a buckled fucking bike, you're going to hurt yourself more. You've avoided injury now. Why would you want to risk it now? I said, give me 2 seconds. I'll straighten it for you. I said, I raced motocross for, on and off for 3 decades. I said, it's nothing. We used to do this all the time. They're designed to twist when you stack it, and you just loosen the triple clamps and bang it against a tree if necessary. And we got it all straightened for him, So, another strange mate went to help someone and he didn't want the help. I'm like, okay. Anyway, these are all parts of my journey. He was happy afterwards, but in all honesty, I don't even think the thing really needed it. But he was just emphasising the story. I guess that was the point I was trying to get to, but never let on that there was nothing wrong with it, because he was the one that took it for a ride, and said it's all better now. So he goes, it's just about right. And so you get some interesting characters out there. Other than that, most of them are pretty cool that I come across. And yeah, I'm grateful that I can ride on my own, and if not everyone has to say good day to you and that, but it's nice. Other times I've had a guy pull up, on a I think it was a T7 Yamaha. I was riding from Byron Bay to Steep Point, which is a common ride for a lot of people from east to west or west to east, and he looked at my bike and he was just like drooling, like, look at this fucking thing, what a beast. And he actually, that was a good moment. This wasn't last year, this was like, I think, another year that I was, because I've done the Great Central Road, the Outback Way 4 times now in the last couple of years, because I loved it so much. It was just a great ride. Anyway, this guy, I pulled up to say g'day, and he was helping some Indigenous people that had run out of fuel, and there's an adventure rider giving him some fuel to get to the spot. And I thought, now you're a fucking top bloke, like, what a legend to help Indigenous people. So yeah, took my hat off to him. Had a good chat to him for 10-15 minutes, make sure everything was cool, and off I went. So part of the adventure ride is meeting people like that. I think there's a lot of what's happened in Australia with COVID and that. There's been a boom in adventure riding. There's a lot of people that aren't as experienced as what they could be riding these places that I come across. I think they're more the ones that ride in small groups or whatever. But in saying that, I don't judge people by their experience. I think good on them for getting out there and doing it. It's just that you can tell when you talk to them that they're talking themselves up a little bit. Whereas the genuine ones, like myself, I would hope to think is that I don't have to talk myself up. I'm doing what I'm doing because I love it, And even with the bike this year, I put a heap of stickers on it because I had this exactly the same bike the year before, the 2 trips before that, and I thought, well, rather than having exactly the same coloured bike for this year's trip, I changed the gearing to give it a bit more bang, which I didn't really need, but I actually absolutely love it now. I wanted to do it the first time, but the dealer said, oh, you don't need to. But this time I said, just fucking do it, do what I want. And yeah, it's been really, really fun to ride. It's got just that little bit more punch than I'm used to, because I've ridden super bikes for a couple of decades. And I've covered the thing in stickers, from places I've been, not just last year, but the years before. I had a few leftover stickers from part of my travels throughout Australia over the years. I've collected stubby holders that are behind me on display underneath the freestyle motocross posters and stickers, stubby holder stickers. And I thought I'd decorate the bike with the stickers, and that was the start of it. And then rocking up in Arnhem Land. The artwork started, and then that continued through Corunda with Witty Works, Aboriginal Arts, and then on the way back through Alice. Wasn't in any in Alice Springs actually. It was in Uluru that I got another 3 artists do some amazing artwork on it, and also up at Bamaga the second time, because the first time there was no one at the art centre, but the second time the girls had just flown in from an art exhibition down in Melbourne. So I had 2 phenomenal artists from Cape York do work. I had another lady from Cape York who's got her own Indigenous art studio in Corunda Rainforest do amazing work. And then to top it off, I had the dot artwork done on the bike before I arrived home, and this bike's full of stories and memories now. So each of them had a story to tell as I paint the artwork, and I shared some of my adventures and stories and my healing process through travelling to remote areas, and it's been part of my journey. It's a talking point, this bike, part of doing this, travelling solo, it doesn't matter if people ride or if they're travelling. When you're travelling to these sorts of places, most people have got the time to talk to you. It's not like city life where everyone's busy working this and the other. I guess it's a different sort of situation, and you get to meet some amazing people from all walks of life, and some of the best friends that I've made throughout my travels in Australia don't even ride. Coco being one of them, in Catherine, who I ended up visiting again last year because I helped him move from Catherine to Adelaide River. True inspiration to meet. He's a guy full of energy. He's 72, and he's just full of life. And he really encouraged me to travel the world. Back then, in 23, when I first met him, and I said, "Oh, I'm not ready yet, mate." I said, "I'm just happy doing what I'm doing." And then, as you do explore Australia more, and do that trip that I wanted to, that I talked about all those years ago, I thought, well, I'm pretty content, even though I haven't done Tasmania, and every man the dog says, "Got to do Tasmania, got to do Tasmania." I've got no urge to do Tasmania. I'd rather do overseas, and then there'll be a time, maybe in 10-15 years time, when I'll go and knock out Tasmania. I know it's a wonderful place. I'm not saying it's not worth it, but it's another place that every man and their dog does, and I'm more interested in picking locations that interest myself. Thailand, I've never been there. I just come back from that now, and it's really excited me as a place that my wife chose for the MotoGP. And we went to Phuket instead of the MotoGP track because I just said it would wear her out. I know from Phillip Island I was walking everywhere through the pits and meeting the riders, and then here and there and different parts of the track, and I didn't expect that from my wife. So I said, "How about we go to Phuket?" And I said, "I can watch some of the practice and racing from one of the many pubs there." And but in all honesty, going to Phuket and experiencing Thailand, I went, wow. The friendliness of the people, compared to Australia, I just couldn't believe it. It was just I'm not saying Australia's full of arseholes, but there's a difference in the service, the smiles, the genuine wanting to help you. It just wasn't one off, it was just consistent, Yeah, you get a few dodgy Indians and whatever other nationalities in there. I don't want to, say a particular nationality. Yes, I love Indians as well. I think they're great people, but overall, the atmosphere in Thailand really excites me, and I really look forward to spending some quality time over there and getting to know the people more. We already made friends immediately, but I guess that's the sort of people they are. You can become. You feel welcomed, so much more welcomed by them. One short trip over there, and I feel like I want to go back immediately. And I think that's why people from all around the world are moving there, because it's half the cost of living anywhere else in the Western world right now. And I don't blame them. Like even myself, I thought, wouldn't be bad to sell up here, cash in, and go over there and base yourself there. But I don't think we'll be doing that. Where we live here is a beautiful part of the world in Mandurah, Western Australia. But yeah, what a great place to start my round the world trip. Now with the round the world trip, like I said earlier in the video, I won't be doing anyone here. I just plan on, originally I wanted to send my, I've got a KTM 890 sitting over there that has only done half the kilometres of what this big girl's done. I thought that'd be perfect to ship over there and yeah, do a few months and then leave it somewhere and then go back and continue it, you know. But there's certain rules that you can't leave your bike there for a certain amount of time. Maybe when I go back I'll find out different ways to get through different sort of roadblocks, you know, with their paperwork and this, that and the other, but I'm just going to keep it simple. I'll probably purchase a bike when I head back there and, you know, spend a few months exploring at my own pace, no records to be broken, or I've got to do this and got to do that. Just one day at a time, you know, see this place, a couple of island hopping here and there, and really enjoy it, and then just sell the bike before I come back. And you know, me being a bit of a shark when it comes to, I'm researching now the prices of bikes in Thailand, and they're very similar price to WA. To tell the truth, there's not much in it. Some things are dearer with the big bikes, some things are, you know, a little bit cheaper depending what you get. But I'll try and find something that's not too expensive, and you know, if something happened to them, it's not going to be the end of the world sort of thing. So, but something that will, you know, be able to take me off road and explore Thailand cost effectively. So yeah, I just thought I'd do this video sitting on my bike, the Beast, the KTM 1290 Super NGR. I love this bike. I'm glad I got another one. Almost bought the Panigale V4 SP. That changed my mind because KTM, as we all know, has been in financial trouble and self-administration, and now they've found finance, but they're still very volatile, the company, as far as I'm concerned. So I'll be hanging on to my KTMs. And waiting to see what happens. As far as, you know, I've got no plans as to upgrading to a 13. I'd love a new 1390 Super Venture because I think it's got some slight tweaks to it that would improve this bike. Like the, you know, I've drowned this on the Ivanhoe crossing as well because where the air intakes are. Whereas I did the same crossing on the Africa Twin and it never happened. I did it a lot faster on the Africa Twin. Not that you need to do it faster. My wife said you slow it down, you wouldn't drown it, but still. Part of my riding DNA is to do things at a bit of speed because of being an ex-motocross racer. It's just what I love to do. But anyway, I've looked at the new model and it's, you know, the air intakes don't seem to be directly at the front, or the water's bellowed up and went in and just filled the fucking airbox. And luckily there was a guy that had raced the Australian Dakar race, whatever, you know, the one down at Alice Springs, and he was another guy that helped me out. And he just went to town to help me all out, and we pulled out the air filter and we tried it on his Prado's exhaust, and then he had a skinny arm half the size of mine. I wouldn't have been able to get my arm in there, but he got his arm and he squeegeed out fucking, you know, a litre of water from there, because I don't know how the fuck it got in there, but he got it out and then we put an air filter back in and she started. So one of many stories as well. But yeah, just this video, this is probably the longest one I've done so far from my tripod. Yeah, hope you've enjoyed it. That's my trip, telling you, lot, you know, through video, talking on my beautiful bike. Now I'm going to try and turn this video off. I doubt it will work, but if it does, I'll catch you later. No, it doesn't work after time, certain amount of time. So I'm going to walk up to it and just hit the button and say, see ya.